China just sent the biggest warning yet to newly elected US President Donald Trump, saying straight up, they're going to fight. They're ready to fight. They are willing to fight. They are able to fight any war that the United States wants. That's some tough talk. Now, this all starts from the tariffs, of course. Donald Trump decided that he had a brilliant idea based on his sophomoric understanding of economics to impose these intense tariffs. China's responding, and they said, look, if you want trade war, we with it. If you want tariff war, we with it. If you want real war, it don't matter. We locked in. It sounds like I'm putting sauce on it, like I'm hyping this up, but it's almost literally what China is saying. And this all comes again after Trump slapped more tariffs on Chinese goods, and China hit right back, targeting U.S. farm products. Now, Beijing is turning up the heat. They're boosting military spending again, and they're flexing their global power, all while accusing the United States of bullying and, quote, intimidation. Meanwhile, Trump's team is pointing at this as proof that China is America's biggest threat, both economically, militarily, and politically. A broken clock is right at least twice a day. Donald Trump is absolutely right to point to the growing power of China. He's absolutely right to say that the United States' biggest economic, political, and military threat is China. The reason why that is the case is where Donald Trump's analysis veers left, but he's not wrong in his point. The United States is an empire in decline. After World War II, we saw the emergence of the U.S. as the global hegemon, as the global superpower. There was a time when the sun never set on the British Empire. There was a time when the Roman Empire was the thing. There was a time when the Ottomans were tearing things up. There are always moments where a particular empire is in control. And when we look through history, there's no reason to believe that any empire, any dynasty is going to last forever. It just doesn't. Just like companies don't last forever. Just like superstars don't remain at the top of their game forever. Athletes don't remain at the top of their game forever. Nothing lasts forever. And the United States is an empire in decline. Now, declines take a long time. They don't happen in 2 years or 5 years or 8 years. Sometimes they take 20 years. Sometimes they take 100 years. Sometimes they take 50 years. But what we see throughout history is that empires that rise also fall. And right now, the United States is no longer the biggest game in town, not for trade, not for technological innovation, not for scientific exploration. And so when Donald Trump comes in and says, we're losing our global competitiveness, the whole sky is falling narrative, Donald Trump's right. Republicans are right. And whatever Democrat says that they're right too, although they often don't say it, or they say it for a different reason. And it's easy to blame the US decline on a singular issue or a singular choice. Like, the voters chose Donald Trump, we fell. Or, this trade policy cut us off at the knees and we'll be back. No, the US decline has been going on for decades. Clinton didn't acknowledge it. Bush didn't acknowledge it. Obama didn't acknowledge it. Obviously, Trump didn't. Trump did, and Biden didn't, and now we're back to Trump again. But Trump's response is one of haste and urgency. And let me use a better word. It's one of desperation. Donald Trump is doing the tariff thing because he legitimately believes, I think he legitimately believes that this will help repair the American economy. It will keep us insular. Even if it shuts out the global market, it'll sort of encourage U.S. produced products, U.S. produced jobs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The problem, of course, is that Donald Trump doesn't think about things in the international or global context or transnational context. He doesn't understand what every economist worth their salt is saying, which is that this is not an easy, simple, problem-free solution. That not only do you run the possibility of igniting a trade war, but you run the possibility of creating significant domestic problems, irrespective of what other countries do. But again, China's not the reason the U.S. is in decline. And picking a fight with China isn't the solution to the declining U.S. empire. At some point, we're going to have to reckon with the fact that first, the economic power declines. And it's not just China. If you look at the emergence of the basic nations, if you look at what, Brazil or South Africa or not just China, but India, etc., it's doing, what you see is the emergence of a new economic bloc. And when economic power grows, diplomatic power and political power expands. You run the world because you run the world. You dig what I'm saying? The political power comes after the economic power or with it. And that allows for the expansion of military power, the deployment of troops in certain places, or the ability to hold off, to stave off, a war or to ignite one. The power to fight proxy wars effectively. All these things matter. And the U.S., again, is an empire in decline. Still powerful, still influential, still a global leader, but falling, falling, falling. And when you see moments like that, when you have a historical juncture like this one, where the empire is falling and the contradictions of capitalism are apparent, the question becomes, what do you do? The U.S. is trying to hold on for dear life. That's why they're engaged in this trade war with China. That's why Trump is talking about emptying out Gaza and making it the French Riviera. This is why, because they're looking for empire on the cheap, similar to what the British did at the top of the 20th century in the Middle East and the late scramble for Africa. Is they're like, look, we know we're declining, we know things are falling, but we're going to hold on to what we can by infiltrating and taking over what we can. Here, is it the Gulf of Mexico? Is it the Gulf of America, as he calls it? Is it Gaza? Is it the Panama Canal? He's going to do something to hold on to this. Rosability asked the question, do you think he actually doesn't understand tariffs at this point? Maybe he doesn't understand when he first blurted it out, but surely by now, months later, he does. I think Donald Trump didn't understand when he blurted it out. I think he understands it better now. And I think he has a lot of people talking to him. But just like with his Middle East policy under John Bolton, the warmonger of warmongers, there's a way that if you have if you have certain people in your ear, they will tell you what you want to hear. They will explain to you why you're right. Or he'll find an ideologue who believes that Trump's right. In general, I think Trump doesn't care. I don't think he has a particular point of view, worldview that he wants to impose. I think he'll do whatever. But I think on this economic stuff, this is where he feels like his expertise kicks in, and this is where he starts to make decisions that make sense when you're talking about a local real estate deal, but don't necessarily make sense in a transnational geopolitical economic context. But that's what you get when you choose Donald Trump to be your president.